It's Tuesday and today we have mostly work in the studio. So the day started out with a 2-hour conversation with a student for a year with. Now what is a year with? It's a very intense training program where the students can actually visit all the workshops and get a lot of assignments based on travel and street photography, model photography and business. So it's like an alternative to photo school. You can call it like that. So what do I have to do today? The first thing I have to do is I have to figure out what's on certain hard drives. Now, I probably know what's on those hard drives, but those hard drives are going to be put on eBay. And one of the things that I can really give you guys as an advice, if you sell your hard drives, make sure you wipe those hard drives. So make sure there's no data on there, because data can be sensitive. So now I have to check if the data on the hard drives is actually something I have to delete, or that we can just sell the hard drives. And if I have to delete them, I have to make sure that I delete them correctly. So don't just format your hard drive, but just use a program that will put ones and zeros on it. And that's the only way you know for sure that the hard drives aren't recoverable. And I have to do some other stuff, but I'm going to show you that during the day. So enjoy today's episode of Behind the Closed Doors. Okay, so these are the hard drives I have to test, or at least see what's on them. And I can of course put them in a computer, but you can also use something like this. And this is an external dock where you can just put your hard drives in, and it's on USB, so it will actually detect the hard drive. And at least I can see what's going on. Now don't wipe your hard drives and stuff like this, because that takes a long time. Just put them in a computer or in an external SATA or Thunderbolt enclosement, because that goes way faster. Okay, as you can see, it's a very simple solution. You just press it in and there we go. And now turn it on. And now it should be detected in my computer. And I can start checking the hard drive, and if it's not something that's really important, we'll just wipe the drive very fast. And if it's something that's important, we actually have to go to the process of putting ones and zeros on there, and that can take a long time, boys and girls, so we're not going to show you that, of course. Okay, so we recently became the distributor for Light Blaster in the Netherlands, and it also means that we have to add one domain to our many domains here. And it's very simple actually. We can just go online and we just reserve the name, and now we can create a hosting. And what we actually have to do is just get the email in order, databases and FTP, and then in a week and our intern can start building the website. We use WordPress, so that's very easy to do, but very flexible. We're now uploading the WordPress files to our server. And guys, if you want to make a website and you're afraid to do it in HTML or with Dreamweaver, just download WordPress, copy it to your server, run the installment, and it's incredibly easy. And it's very flexible. You can do a lot with the WordPress site. So it's not an easy one solution. You can make your website look very fancy. You can add commercials, parts like stores. It's just really cool. Into building your own website, check out WordPress. Okay, and 5 minutes later, here we go. World, we have a new website, light-blaster.nl. Don't look on it now, we're still building it, and it can take 3 or 4 weeks before it's online. Okay, so we just uploaded a new Light Blaster site for the Dutch market. And again, the intern and Anna-Week will be building that site in the coming weeks, and probably I will help out because, well, sometimes there are things that if you have a little bit of experience with WordPress, just works a little bit faster. And the thing I now have to do is actually something that I love to do. As you know, we work closely together with BenQ. And they have a website and of course a Facebook page. Now on that Facebook page they sometimes share images and tips. You feel it coming. I have to do some tips there. So what I actually did is I selected 7 images, and I'm going to write a very small tip with each of those images. So I'm going to show you the images very quickly, but I'm not going to show you the tips yet, because for that you have to go on the BenQ Facebook site and make sure you check them out, because they have a lot of great tips there, and of course a lot of photographers that actually share their tips and great images. So I created a mix of street photography and model photography, and I'm gonna write the tips for this, and of course it has to be a little bit with connection to BenQ and why we use their monitors. So it will be about colors and tinting, of course. So again, make sure you check out their Facebook page, because very soon you will see these images there, including some tips. Okay, I'm done with writing all the tips for BenQ, and we actually already uploaded it to Dropbox and to BenQ. The only thing I now have to do for today is record some videos for a new website we're working on. And it will be short tips. And for you Dutch guys, this is gonna be all in Dutch. My tips will be in Dutch, and I can't say anything more. But it's gonna be a really interesting website. So make sure you keep your eyes out for that one. But it will be about a month before that one goes online. And I can't tell you anything about it, it's a big secret. And I already told you way too much. Don't you just love cars like this? Very close to our studio, it's been parked here for a few weeks. And I think I'm gonna put a business card behind these windshield wipers, if we can use the car for a photo shoot. Absolutely amazing. Hey guys, in between let's do a quick tip. Now, a lot of people ask me, Frank, why should I calibrate my monitor if my client doesn't have a calibrated monitor? The explanation is actually incredibly simple. Let's say your monitor has 20% too much blue. You're used to that look, so all the images that you see on your monitor that are actually correct are 20% too blue, but for you that looks normal. Now, what if I don't calibrate my monitor and my monitor has 20% too little blue or 20% too much? You would say if it has 20% too much blue, it fits the client's monitor, right? It doesn't. Now, let's say your monitor has 20% too much blue and your client's monitor has 20% too much blue. If you make your images look the way you want on your client's monitor, it will never look the same as the images from the other photographers who do calibrate the monitor. It doesn't matter how you turn it or how you twist it. If a client looks at an uncalibrated monitor, that's his view of the world. That's what he's used to. And most photographers, of course, will deliver their images, I hope, from a calibrated workflow. So if you don't, your images will always look different. Now, sometimes it can be very positive. If your client tells you, hey Frank, or I use a calibrated workflow, but let's say you're also named Frank. Hey Frank, I really love that image. It has a really warm hue. And you go back to your computer and you go like, warm hue? The image looks really cool. So please always forget about what somebody else has. Make sure that your workflow is calibrated, that you deliver the work the way it's supposed to be. And don't hide behind excuses. A color calibrator isn't that expensive, but it really lifts your work to a whole other level. Plus, you know for sure that if you see detail in the blacks, that you actually see detail in the blacks. This is a real story. Many years ago, somebody asked me like, Frank, what do you think of my images? And he always shot black and white. And I said, I really like those images. The only thing is, I think your shadows could be a little bit more dense. And he was going like, how do you mean dense? They're like pitch black. And I was going like, no dude, really, they're close to black, but it's not black. So at one point he visited our studio, and this was months later. And he said, okay, can I look on your monitor? So I showed him the images on my monitor, and he was going like, oh my, those are not my images. Now, in essence, the only thing he had to do was change the brightness on his monitor, because he had his brightness way too low. So that means that he actually saw detail, and then he just lowered the brightness just a little bit, that the detail was gone, and he really liked it. In reality, the original brightness was here. So in other words, he lowered the brightness, but there was still a lot of detail on every other monitor, but nobody ever told him. They only said, you make great shots. But he wanted that really dense shadows. So for years, he was actually delivering work that didn't have any dense shadows. So make sure you don't make a fool out of yourself. And I don't mean that he made a fool out of himself, but you know what I mean, right? And make sure you calibrate that monitor. Really important. Okay, so I'm going back to the studio for some final chores. And then I'm going to end this video and edit it for you guys. So thank you so very much for watching today's episode of Behind the Closed Doors. I thank you so very much for watching, and make sure you leave comments below, because then we know what you guys think about the episodes and what we can improve. And of course, we still have our Mac Fun giveaway. So on social media, shout out I love Mac Fun, and I would like to have this plugin. And just fill in which plugin you want, and at the end of this week I will actually select a winner, and he or she will get the plugin for free. And that's cool. Free is always cool, especially for Dutch people. Hey, anyway, and oh, don't forget, tomorrow is Digital Classroom. And this time we have Nadine here, and she's gonna use a set. Now, we already have the set here, and it's still, well, it's still very, very, how do you call it? Empty. And probably tomorrow you won't recognize anything of the set back. Now let me turn this up. So there we go, that's better. So we're going to use that set and it's going to be totally different. So make sure you tune in tomorrow for Digital Classroom. It's going to be awesome because with Nadine it's always going to be a surprise what happens. So thank you very much for watching and see you guys next time. And of course tomorrow we're going to show you everything concerning Digital Classroom. So bye bye, have a nice evening and see you tomorrow.